So one of the reasons that I do photography is to capture people's stories, and what better way to capture people's stories than a vintage car show? So if you're into photography and you're into cars, this one's for you.
So it's a Ford F100 1965. So this was my dad's pride and joy. My dad passed in February of this year, and you know, we used to do July 4th parades every year, and he would drive and I would throw candy to the kids. But we got a notice from the car show, and my mom said, your dad loved that show, he did it every year. And I just thought that I'm gonna do it. And so I just took his car and we're here today. My dad saw this driving in Philadelphia, and I knew he was thinking about it because he took me to go see it. He's like, what do you think? And I said, I think you should treat yourself, and I think you really want it if you come back. And it didn't look like this. You know, he put a lot of work into it. He loved it. So this is in honor of him today. And his name was Joe Sadlowski.
It's a 1956 210 postcar. When we got it, it was green, light green and dark green, and had 33,000 miles on it. It was a 6-cylinder car. I put an LS3 motor in it, 500 horsepower. We did all the exhaust underneath, is all stainless steel. The trunk is finished, interior is finished. For me, at this age, 77 years old, I need to slow down, not go faster. It's got plenty of power. I bought it in 2009. I'm 77 years old, and I had half a dozen 56s, 55s, 57s. That was the car when I was a kid. That's the car everybody went after. It's not a frame off, but we did floor pans underneath, coated the whole underneath of the car. It's all coated, like a rubberized coating, and pretty much everything. And it had, when we first got it, we put a 350 motor in it. And then my nephew that builds motors, he decided that we should put an LS motor in it. I'll tell you what, it's all electronic, computerized, so it pretty much does whatever you want it to do. We're trying to keep it in the family. It's probably worth every bit of $100,000 right now, yeah. Yeah, I got offered quite a bit of money for it. It runs well, doesn't give me any problems.
Yeah, my name's John Campbell. It's a 57 Chevy 2-door, Bel Air, 350 Chevy in it, 700 R4 transmission. And just been having a good time with it, you know? Other than that, it's good to hang out with the people, you know, it's a lot of fun. Meet a lot of nice people, you know? And I hang with my brother-in-law, Joe, and Ron, so get some tacos, maybe get a trophy if you're lucky, you know?
1949 Pontiac Silver Streak, frame-off restoration, 2014, 350 automatic 400 turbo trans, rear with 310 gears for cruising, power steering, power brakes, power windows, air conditioning, good cruiser. I don't go with this run-of-the-mill car. I don't go with the same like everybody else has, and I just wanted something different. This was different. This fit the bill. To have a classic car, it takes a lot of commitment. If you want them to keep looking good, you got to, you know, wash and wax them. Always keep them clean. Like, we come out here, we enjoy our cars. We keep them clean, like I said. We drive them. I get in this car, we'll drive it 2-3 hours to a car show. They just, you know, some people don't want to use their cars that much. I drive this everywhere.
And I bought this car 30 years ago in a junkyard in Williamstown. I paid $1,500 for it. Where the motor was at, there was a tree growing. I had to cut the tree down to get the car out. I pulled in the driveway with it, and my mother-in-law was sitting there looking. She says, Greg, what the hell did you do? She said, you're going to restore that car? I said, yeah, give me time. And me and my buddy took this car all apart, painted it, frame off everything, and this is what we got now. It's all done. I had a great feeling on this car when I seen it. And I seen it in the paper, and I called the guy up. I says, the car's still for sale? And he says, yes. And I said to him, I said, I'll be there in the morning. He said, but you didn't see the car. I says, I'll be there with a flatbed. And this is what we ended up with.
Hi, my name's Norm Rupp. This is a 1962 Ford Thunderbird. I bought it about 5 years ago. It does pretty good at shows. It's Corinthian white with a teal interior. It's got a 390 engine in it. Owner used to be the vice president of the Pennsylvania Thunderbird Club. He's the one that did the restoration on it. I went down there and seen it, just fell in love with it. I just can't part with it. I've always wanted to get into the hobby, and this car got me there. And it's nice to see that a lot of these cars stay. A lot of people work on them and bring them back to life. And that's the biggest thing. And you get to meet a lot of different people. Plus, I'm in a club, the Belmar Cruisers, a lot of nice guys, and we go to different shows. And it's really a good hobby. I wish more younger people would get into it to keep these cars still going.
Yeah, my name's Larry, and this is a 57 Chevy truck, 3100. And my son and I, we like to do cars and things along those lines. And we looked for a truck. I mean, I was always a truck guy. And we located this truck out in Seattle. And it was a father-son project out there, too, that they never finished. We tweaked what we wanted to do, and we ended up going with a Chevy 350. We took the old motor out of it, the original motor, stripped it down, body off, all the fenders, everything, right down to the frame. The motor, we got a Chevy Performance motor in there now, which we replaced about 2 years ago. It's got a Weiland high-rise manifold in it. We got a Muncie 4-speed transmission and a 373 Posi, and 4-link suspension. We lowered it a little bit, give it a little style, and the color, purple color. The thing with this is the guy that I was doing the truck argued about the color. So I'm not doing that. So we ended up going with it because, purple could go wrong. Mm-hmm. And, we did little things. We split it up with this platinum color picture. This is called a Pegasus Purple. And we were going to go all platinum back here, but we ended up just breaking it up here with some of the trim. We got American Racer wheels on there, and it keeps me out of trouble. Well, I like the 50s styles, 1950 styles. I mean, a friend of mine has a 55 Chevy Bel Air. This is the 57, which kind of emulates the 57 car because the hood has these high points on it. Also, we redid the back here. I don't know if you can take a look at this. We all put oak bedding in here, so it turned out nice.
Hi, my name is Leah. I have a 1979 Monte Carlo. This is a funny story. So back when I was about 14 years old, my grandfather had this exact car, and he got it from my biological father who couldn't afford the payments. I was 3, they broke up, he sold it to my pop-up. My dad, who God rest his soul, he took it and then he passed away, and I lost my car. And I was heartbroken. This car was my heart. I used to get, my grandfather used to take me back and forth in the big boat, and I absolutely loved it. I loved the smell. I remember being a tiny kid and being able to actually sleep in the back seat. And so years later, I met my husband, and we have a tattoo shop called 168 Tattoo. Obviously, with the tattoos comes a lot of creative people. I saw this car, and it was rotted. The roof was all rotted. I had a guy come in my shop, and my Land Rover was out front. He said, "I'll give you $2,500 right now for it." My husband and every other guy that was standing around this shop said, "Leah, take the check and run." So I took that $2,500, had friends of mine with a trailer, drive all the way to Clayton, pick this bad boy up. I got my car back. So technically I've had this car since I was a baby. When my dad was still alive, he passed away in 2010, we used to watch Training Day, and we were like, that's the car. That's the 1979 Monte Carlo. It's not perfect, but it's got heart.
Car is a 1941 Pontiac custom torpedo. It's the C-body, which they only built about 7,000 of these things in 1941. And when the war started, they stopped, production on them. So it's a 122-inch wheelbase, and this, if you look at the back of it, you'll see that the nickname for these things was a German helmet, because that's the shape of the back of it looks like a German helmet. It's a flathead, 248 cubic inch, 8-cylinder. I would not dare take this thing out on 295 today, because if you look at the owner's manual, it tells you the car weighs, curb weight on it's 3,800 pounds. You've only got 9-inch disc brakes, and it says it takes 275 feet to stop this car at 60 miles an hour, which is almost a football field long. And these things were just not built for today's highways. And if you look on the bumpers, they stopped chrome plating these things right before World War II, because you have to use copper for a base coat for chrome. And they were using the copper to make ammunition for World War II. So what they were doing is just paint the bumpers silver and sending them out the door. If you look here with where the antenna is, this was the first year they put power antennas in cars. And what they did, they worked off a vacuum hose, where if you pull this button out here, it went up, and if you push it in, it goes down. When we first got this thing, it was up in the Poconos. It sat in a barn up there since 1972, and Pennsylvania wouldn't allow you to get a license for a car that was over 25 years old, because they deemed them unserviceable at that point. That's why the car sat in the barn. And it was an old lady that her husband had bought it brand new. So I'm really only the second owner of this thing. And the inside of it, I think a family of raccoons lived in it. It was a mess. I had to get the upholstery all redone on it. Back then, the way they used to jack these cars up, if you had a flat tire, the jack went on the wheel rim of the car. So you jack the car up by the wheel rim, put a stand underneath the chassis, let the jack back down, take the wheel off, put the new wheel on, tighten it up, jack it back up, then take the stand out from underneath the chassis and lower it back down on the ground. I can't even imagine somebody getting hurt trying to do that today.
I got into the car because my father was in the cars since he was a teenager. And basically I inherited this car from my father, unfortunately, who passed away. And he bought this car in 1967 when he got out of the service. In 1967, has had this car ever since, garage kept. You know, and so this car sat on blocks from the time I was born almost until I was 25 years old. And he decided to get into a club and start messing with the cars again, because he had the time to do so. You know, my father, truck driver, had 4 kids, worked every day. So this is how I got into hot rodding, because of my parents and my friends. This is a keepsake for my father, yes. You know, this is something that no money in the world would to take this car from me, because it means so much to me personally, because it was my father's. You know, he died doing something he loved, you know what I mean? And it hurts in a way to come to shows like this without my father, because I represent him. And everybody who knows me and knows my father knows this car.
This is my 1977 Volkswagen Westfalia camper bus. And I've been into classic cars. My father was into classic cars. So that's how I got into the classic car business. The Volkswagen, I've always loved. I started off early loving muscle cars, things like that. I just loved cars. But the Volkswagens had a unique place for me because they're air-cooled engines. Everyone loves a Volkswagen. Herbie, you know, the Beetles. I mean, who doesn't recognize a Volkswagen Beetle? And the hippie bus, the hippie movement. Who doesn't have a story about a father or cousin or somebody from the 60s and 70s? So these cars are so iconic. They're such a part of American culture, but more importantly, American family. These vehicles were designed for families. This car has a bed in it, has a sink, a stove. They were designed for people who wanted to go out with their kids on the weekends after mom and dad worked all week. So it's more than just a car to me. It's a whole experience having one of these Volkswagen buses.
So I hope you found the video interesting or remotely entertaining. Consider giving it a like and maybe possibly subscribing. But I want to thank and give a shout out to Christina, Joe, John, Harry, Ron, Greg, Norm, Larry, Jack, Idris, and Leah for allowing me to capture their stories and their portraits for this special episode. But until my next one, let's keep creating.